All right, today I'm starting a new teaching in our series on Galatians 2:20, not I, but Christ. And today I want to talk about, I've been hinting on this and mentioning it a little bit, but today I want to go deeper in this truth that I was crucified with Christ. I want today we are going to look at what this means when Paul says that we were crucified with Christ. So, of course, the best place to start is in Galatians 2:20, where we have been discussing for a while. And Galatians 2:20 says, I am crucified with Christ. Nevertheless, I live, yet not I, but Christ lives in me. And the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by the faith of the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. But notice how it states, I am crucified with Christ. So let's begin here now. And today we have taken a turn. What we're beginning to talk about is really, really, really important and powerful and vital and absolutely life-changing, that we were crucified with Christ. You were crucified with Christ. When Christ was put to death on the cross, you were put to death on the cross together with him. When Christ died on the cross, you died with Christ on the cross. When Christ went through death, you went through death together with Christ. That's where we begin. We have always had the view that Jesus died for us, but we've not really concentrated on this other side of the view, which is even more true and more real, which is the fact that not only did Jesus die for us, but Jesus died with us. Jesus died with you. You were crucified with Christ. You was crucified with Christ. Jesus did not die for you only. Jesus did not go to the cross alone. He took you with him into his death. His death was your death. When he died, you died. That's important. So Romans chapter 6, verse 6, we've been talking about this verse again and again, and today this verse is coming into its own. Romans chapter 6, verse 6, knowing this, that our old man is crucified with him, that the body of sin might be destroyed, that henceforth we should not serve sin. Knowing this, he's saying we ought to know this. If you're a believer and you don't know this, then there's something important that you don't know that you should know. Knowing this, that our old man is crucified with Christ. You must know this. We must know this. We must understand this, that when Jesus went on the cross and died, he took our old man with him. Why is this important for us to know? Because we have to realize that we are no longer the old man. We are no longer who we used to be. We are no longer who we were born to be. What your parents gave birth to, the old you, is no longer the current, the present, the new you. The old man was taken out of the way. He was nailed to the cross. He died with Jesus. So in our previous lessons, we've described who the old man was. We saw that the old man is the sin nature. The old man is the flesh man. The old man is the carnal nature. The old man is the natural nature in you. The old man was the Adamic nature in you, the one who you were before you believed, the one who is without Christ, devoid of truth, devoid of Christ, devoid of life. That's who the old man is. The old man is who you were before Jesus Christ went to that cross and died for you and you believed. Before that, you were the old man. That was the one that was inside you. That was your nature. But the Bible has told us that when Jesus went to the cross, he took the old man with him to the cross. The old man, the person that you were, the sin nature, the sinner in you, the one who was cursed, the one who was the enemy of God, the one who was hated by God, the one who was condemned already, the one who could not see truth, understand truth, the one who was the liar, the one who was the murderer, the one who was the fornicator, the one who was the adulterer, the one who was the idolater, the one who was all of these terrible things. That old man in you that was sin, he was crucified with Christ on the cross. He was taken to the cross with Christ. God's solution for your old man was to kill him on the cross with Christ. The old man was not saved. The old man was not resurrected. The old man was not forgiven. The old man was not renewed. The old man died with Jesus on the cross. When I use the old man, maybe it may skip over our mind. Maybe I need to use another term. The sin nature died with Jesus on the cross. The nature in you, the spirit in you, the Satan spirit in you, that was the child of Satan, that was a slave of sin, that was bound to sin. That nature died on the cross with Christ. That nature was killed on the cross with Christ. The sin nature was eliminated from you. You do not have a sin nature. The sin nature was removed from you. You do not have a carnal nature in you. That old carnal nature was eliminated, was killed on the cross with Christ. You do not have an old man in you. That old man was killed with Christ on the cross. You are not a sinner. The sinner in you was killed with Christ on the cross. The sinner, the nature in you that produced sin, was eliminated on the cross with Christ. The cursed nature was killed with Christ on the cross. The old cursed nature, the one who was under the curse of the law, was killed with Christ on the cross. He does not exist anymore. This is why generational curses don't work for you. Why? Because the nature in you that was cursed, the nature in you that was under curses, was killed with Christ on the cross. As it is written, cursed is he who hangs on the cross. Galatians 3:13. It says that Christ has redeemed you from the curse of the law, being made a curse for you, for it is written, cursed is he who hangs on a tree. The cursed man, the cursed woman that you were before, was killed with Christ on the cross. That was your old man. You are not under any curse, because the one in you who was under the curse, who brought you into the curse, was crucified with Christ on the cross. The diseased you, the sickness you, died with Jesus on the cross. The poor you died, the broke you died with Jesus on the cross. The bound you who was under Satan and under demonic oppression died with Jesus on the cross. That is the old man. Everything that you've always associated yourself with, every defect you've associated yourself with, every deficiency you've associated yourself with, died on the cross with Christ. You are not any of those evil, bad, negative things. They all were crucified with Christ on the cross. When Jesus went to that cross, he took your old sin nature with him and killed it and crucified it. When Jesus died, that nature died. That's powerful, powerful news. Let's look at another verse here in Galatians chapter 5 and verse 24. In Galatians chapter 5, verse 24, it says this, that, and they that are Christ's have crucified the flesh with their affections and lusts. The flesh has been crucified, has been put to death. The flesh, we are no longer of the flesh. You are now of the Spirit. You are a spirit. You live in the Spirit. You are of the Spirit. The flesh nature has been eliminated from you. You are not the flesh anymore. The flesh nature was killed on the cross with Christ, was eliminated on the cross with Christ. Let me read it to you from the Passion Translation. It says, keep in mind that we who belong to Jesus Christ have already experienced crucifixion, for everything connected with our self-life was put to death on the cross and crucified with Messiah. Everything connected with our self-life was put to death on the cross and crucified with Messiah. Everything connected with who you are, let's say it this way, that everything that you are without Christ was put to death on the cross. You are not without Christ. There is nothing in you that is not of Christ. Everything that was of Christ was put to death on the cross, was eliminated, was killed, was destroyed. Everything that you have that is not of Christ was killed, was eliminated on the cross. When Jesus died on that cross, he took the old man with him and put him to death. Jesus took everything you had, everything you possessed, everything you were positionally. He took to the cross and killed, eliminated. Glory be to God. Romans chapter 8. Romans chapter 8. I don't know if you see how powerful this is. This is really, really powerful. Romans chapter 8, verse 3. For what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh. See, what is it that the law could not do? It could not make you holy and righteous. There's nobody who has ever been righteous by obeying the law. There's nobody who has ever obeyed the law perfectly to the point where they were declared righteous by the law. It has never happened. Jesus was the only one that lived a perfect life. Every other human being has sinned and broken the law 1,000 times, multiple times, 1,000,000,000 times. You see, so it says that what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh. The weakness of the law was the flesh, because the law demanded the flesh to perform, and the flesh could not perform. So that was the law's weakness, that it worked in the flesh, and the flesh was already weak and could not fulfill the law. That's why it was impossible to live according to the law and fulfill it. So the law could not make anybody righteous. It says, what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh, God sending his own son, that's Christ, in the likeness of sinful flesh. That Christ came as if he was sinful flesh in a body, and for sin condemned sin in the flesh, that the righteousness of the law might be fulfilled in us, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. God condemned sin in the flesh. How did God condemn sin in the flesh? How did God condemn hamartia, this sin nature in the flesh? How did God condemn it? By killing Jesus on that cross. When Jesus died on the cross, he took the sin nature with him on the cross. He took hamartia with him on the cross. He took the old man with him on the cross and crucified him and killed him and eliminated him. This is what the law could not do. The law could not remove the sin nature, but Jesus on that cross removed the sin nature. By his death on the cross, he took the sin nature together with him into his death and eliminated your enemy, the sin nature, the source of all your problems. He eliminated